Hello, everyone. Wishing you all a peaceful and beautiful day. Today, we're going to explore a heartfelt and emotional story that unfolds deep in the mountains, where a young girl named Tuki wakes up with no memory and is taken in by an elderly couple. Through pain, compassion, and quiet resilience, their lives slowly intertwine in a journey filled with sorrow, hope, and the longing for redemption. If you enjoy meaningful stories like this, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you won't miss any of our upcoming videos. Let's dive into the story. In a small wooden hut, the fire crackled softly in the corner of the kitchen. The dim yellow light from the flames flickered across the weathered face of the wife, where wrinkles weren't just marks of age, but etchings of sorrow and countless untold stories. She sat there silently, stirring the bubbling pot of porridge with trembling hands. Each word she spoke about her son, Vun, seemed to fall like drops of sadness into the air. "I've spent my whole life gathering herbs to heal others, and now I'm powerless to help myself," she whispered, her eyes glistening with tears on the verge of spilling. Opposite her, the husband sat in silence, thin hands clenched tightly, as if mustering every last bit of strength to suppress the pain within. No sigh, no complaint, only the cold wind slicing through the wooden cracks of the hut. Vun, once their pride, was now a lingering wound. She recalled the times they scolded him, guided him, begged him to change, but in the end, he still went astray. The worst was when he took their last pig, the final possession they had left, a betrayal that cut deep into their trust. Still, her voice trembled with a faint light. "I still hope that one day he'll come to his senses." The husband didn't respond. He just gave a slight nod, his gaze drifting into the distance, lost between hope and despair. Though the fire offered warmth, the coldness of their loss seeped into every breath they took. The porridge kept bubbling on the stove, but no one had the appetite to eat. They sat in silence, trapped by memories and unspoken fears, all because of their lost son. The next morning, pale rays of sunlight slipped through the wooden slats and landed on the frail figure of Tuki, the young girl lying on an old bamboo bed. Slowly, she sat up, her hollow eyes searching, caught between dream and reality, the aftermath of her memory loss. The air in the hut felt suffocating, so she stepped outside into the mountain chill. The cold wind cut through her, sharp and wild, breathing the essence of the deep forest. Back inside, the wife suddenly realized that Tuki was gone. Panic surged through her like a crashing wave. "Tukai, where are you?" she called, voice trembling, heart pounding fast. She rushed out, running along the mountain slope. Thorny bushes scraped her arms, drawing blood, but she didn't stop. Each step was filled with dread, haunted by visions of something terrible happening to the fragile girl. At last, she saw her, curled up next to a large rock, weak but safe. "Oh dear, why are you out here? You're not well yet," the wife exclaimed, her voice a mix of scolding and overwhelming relief. "I couldn't lie there any longer. I felt suffocated," Tukai murmured, her head bowed. The wife gently helped her back into the hut. Though she was safe, worry still clung to the wife's eyes. The mountain wind howled again, as if to remind her just how delicate this girl truly was. In their poor little hut, love seemed to be the only thing strong enough to hold them all together. Elsewhere, further down the mountainside, the old man was making his way along a rugged, rocky trail. In his hand were a few small coins, payment from the villagers he'd treated with herbs. Under the shade of a tree, he ran into Mr. Tom, a familiar and kind neighbor. "Out for something today?" Mr. Tom asked, pouring a cup of water for him. "Just going to buy a fishing net, hoping to catch a little more," the old man replied, voice calm but tinged with quiet sadness. They sat by the porch as the mountain breeze drifted around them, light and gentle, but the old man's heart remained heavy. "You're still strong for your age, Mr." Tom laughed, but the old man only nodded, eyes gazing far into the misty forest. His mind wandered to Vun, the son who had once made him proud, but who now only brought grief. And then to Tukai, the strange girl who had appeared in their lives like a gust of wind, sudden, unexpected, yet somehow meaningful. Before heading back, he stopped by the small shop and bought a carton of milk for Tukai. It wasn't much, but to him it was a quiet offering of hope, a small gesture that carried deep meaning. That afternoon, a call came from outside the hut. A neighbor appeared, holding a pig, his eyes bright with gratitude. "This is for you and your wife. Thank you for healing my child," he said sincerely. The old man froze. Memories of Vun surfaced immediately, how their son had stolen the last pig from them. He hesitated and shook his head. "Your family's struggling too. I can't accept this." But the neighbor insisted, placing the pig down. Beside him, the wife looked at the animal with unease. Her thoughts, as always, drifted to the fear that Vun might return and destroy everything again. That fear never truly left her heart. In the end, they accepted the gift, grateful yet uneasy. The wind whistled through the cracks of the wooden walls, colder than usual, as if whispering that something ominous was coming. A quiet question echoed in both their hearts. Could they truly protect this small gift? Or would it, like so much before, be taken from them again? Inside the old wooden hut, the silence was heavy, broken only by the sound of wind rushing through the forest and the tired breathing of the elderly. Tukai, the young girl carrying a shadowy past, now sat beside the old couple, her eyes glowing with a quiet fire. Though her body was still frail, her voice was steadier than ever. "Please keep the pig. We can share it with a neighbor later." Such a simple sentence, yet it made both the old man and woman pause. The wife placed her hand down on the unfinished meal, her eyes glimmering with a feeling she had almost forgotten, being moved by kindness. Perhaps in all the years of hardship, they had grown unfamiliar with that warmth. The husband nodded, his voice low and soft like the mountain wind. "You're right, that's what we'll do." No more words were needed. In that quiet moment, the hut seemed to glow, if only faintly, under the flicker of a weak oil lamp. They continued talking, this time about Vun, their lost son. Though the pain hadn't faded, the presence of Tukai seemed to cast a gentle light into the shadows of the conversation. Tukai reached out, holding the old woman's hand, and whispered, "I'll help you find him, I promise." Her voice trembled, not from fear, but from the deep gratitude that now pulsed through her veins. Outside, the wind still whispered through the trees, but it felt different now, like a tiny flame being carefully protected in the heart of winter. That evening, beside the flickering hearth, the couple sat close, their eyes fixed on the dancing flames. Each spark seemed to awaken old memories, fragments of the past when Van was still a boy, gentle and helpful, fetching water and supporting his father up the mountain paths. He used to love us so much. Such a good child, the wife murmured, her voice tinged with longing. The husband replied, eyes never leaving the fire. But as he grew, alcohol, gambling, the wrong friends, they took him away. There was no bitterness in their words, no anger, only the quiet sorrow of years spent teaching and guiding, only to watch it all slip away. The wife added softly, almost as if speaking to herself, I still hope one day he'll return to us. The next morning, a simple meal was laid out on the old wooden table, grilled fish with a smoky aroma, fresh green forest vegetables, and a small pot of steaming white rice. The three sat together, no grand words exchanged, only glances filled with warmth and unspoken understanding. Tukai looked at them and spoke clearly, voice steady though soft. I'll help you find Van. He will come back. For a moment, the air seemed to stop, her words so beautiful, yet so fragile. But it was the sincerity in her voice that lit a spark in their hearts, however small. The wife smiled, tears shimmering in her eyes. You're such a kind soul. The old man said nothing. He simply nodded. His hands trembled as he lifted his bowl, but in his eyes was a softness long forgotten. That meal held no delicacies, no grand feast, but within it was everything they had once lost and were now trying to rebuild. A home, a family, a sense of trust. Outside, the mountain wind still howled, but it no longer chilled them. It felt as if it were making way for something else, a light reaching from deep within the heart, where kinship, gratitude, and hope still quietly smoldered. Out in the forest, the tall trees stood motionless, silent witnesses to the quiet journey of three people. An old couple living with memories, and a young girl living with gratitude and a promise. That promise, perhaps, was the only light left in the heart of the deep forest. Deep in the mountains,
Sâu trong rừng,
a young girl named
sâu trong núi rừng,
wakes up
một cô gái
in a
trẻ
remote
tên là Tử
hut
Kỳ tỉnh dậy
with
trong
no
một căn
memory
tròi
of
hẻo
who
lánh,
she is.
không còn nhớ mình
She's
là
taken
ai.
in by an
Cô được một
elderly
cặp vợ
couple
chồng già
who
cưu
live
mang,
with the
những người sống
silent
nặng nẽ cùng
of
nỗi đau
losing
mất
their
con
child
trai,
son,
Văn,
Van.
một đứa trẻ lạc lối.
As Tukai slowly
Khi Tử
finds
Kỳ dần
warmth
cảm nhận được
and
sự
care
ấm
in
áp
their
và
home,
quan tâm
the old
trong mái nhà
couple
nghèo
still
ấy,
clings
đôi
to
vợ
hope
chồng
that
vẫn
Van
giữ
will
hy
one day
vọng,
return
mong manh rằng
and
một ngày nào
change.
đó
A
Văn sẽ
neighbor's
quay trở
gift,
về và thay
a
đổi.
pig,
Món quà
brings
từ
both
những người hàng
gratitude
xóm, một con
and
heo
fear,
mang đến niềm biết
reminding
ơn,
them of
nhưng
past
cũng
losses.
gợi lại những ký ức đau buồn
Tukai
trong quá khứ.
promises to help find
Kỷ
Van.
từ hứa sẽ
Her
giúp
vow,
Văn tìm,
a faint light in the darkness.
Tử Kỳ hứa sẽ giúp
This
tìm
is a
Văn.
touching journey
Lời
through
hứa ấy
memory,
như ánh sáng né noi
regret,
trong
and
màn đêm.
compassion,
Đây
as
là hành
three
trình đầy cảm
strangers
xúc
slowly become family
và xúc
in the
động của ký
heart
ức,
of the wild.
hối hận và
Amid
lòng trắc
cold
ẩn.
winds,
Nơi ba con
quiet
người xa lạ
forests,
dần trở thành gia đình
love
giữa
and
lòng
hope
hoang dã,
quietly take root,
giữa gió lạnh và rừng
defying
sâu tĩnh lặng,
loss and
tình
time.
thương